Hey, this is David Kaplan from the Cap J Hood Show on ESPN 1000 and NBC Sports Chicago. Now get ready to listen and watch to Bulls 101 with Kris and Larro. Take that, Sparkles.
What's up, Bulls Nation? My name is Chris Amundsen. I'm here with my guy, Mr. Larro Golden, on this beautiful Saturday evening. Talk about some Bulls, even though they're still wiped out of the playoffs. But we're having a lot of fun watching some other teams and seeing what the Bulls can do next year. How you doing, Larro?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Today was my son's last day of soccer. It was pretty cool to see my son go through his first season of a sport, and it's pretty cool, man. I mean, I'm just ready to talk some Bulls, answer some, questions, just have some fun, man.
Yeah, definitely need it on a Saturday evening here. Grateful to. I'll never get sick of listening to Cap say "Take that, Sparkles" in our intro. But yeah. So, Larro, we did something. We went out on a limb a little bit this week. We've only been around for 3 months. As of tomorrow will be our 3 month.
Wow.
3 months of doing the show. Feels like a lifetime, and also feels like we barely started.
Yeah.
But we went out on a limb and said, hey, let's see if we can get some questions, some mailbag questions, and do a show based off of that. Luckily, the response was great. We had a bunch of different questions, so thank you guys for those of you who submitted questions. We're going to try and get to all of them during our show tonight. And a lot of them have to do with the off season and some trade targets, and there's some hypotheticals. And then I probably got a few for you at the end just for fun to ask my guy Larro. Okay. So just going to keep you on your toes. Just watch out tonight. We're going to have some fun here.
Right.
All right, I see Salim is back. Salim,
let's go.
Our number one fan. Thanks for being here, man. All right, let's see what we got here. Unless is there anything you want to say before we get started on the questions?
I put out a tweet. What was this? Yesterday, I think. It's been fun watching. It's been fun to watch some playoff basketball. It really has, and I'm just ready for the Bulls to be in. I'm ready. I don't want to sound like this guy, but I'm kind of tired of watching everybody else play some high-level competitive basketball. I'm ready to see Zach. I'm ready to see these guys on this team get to the playoffs and play at the highest level. I'm just ready to see that step, and maybe we'll touch on that a little bit today. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with the sentiment. Same thing that basically AK said at the end of season press conference. He's like, I don't even want to watch playoff basketball because we're not in it. And it pissed him off, that we didn't make it. And I know it pisses guys like Zach LaVine off. I think Zach's got one of the longest streaks of a player not having a single playoff game in their career. I know that eats at him, and I know this team wants it. So I'm excited to see what they do next season. Hopefully they come out guns blazing, and as you said, we can finally see them play at the highest levels here. It was fun to watch for me, the Suns Lakers series, the Nuggets Blazers series, and now we got Nets Bucks that we just had the first game tonight. But Suns especially because Devin Booker, that was his first playoff series, and he faced the defending champions in the Lakers. Yeah. Obviously AD went down with an injury, and Chris Paul was also had that shoulder injury during the series. But it's really fun to watch Booker go off and show what he could do in the playoffs. And I think we've put Zach in that same category as Booker and like Donovan Mitchell and CJ McCollum and a bunch of those other guys, those two guards that can really shoot it and are dynamic, and they do some playmaking. I just think I can't wait for Zach's moment to do what Booker was doing.
It's funny you said the moment thing, because I was listening to Devin's after the game question, the way he answered the questions, and he was saying that like he knew that this was his time and he was going to take it on to the fullest. And being in Staples reminded him of like the conversations with Kobe, and it was like, man, like for somebody to because a lot of people like to go the route of like, you know what, we did what we had to do, but I loved hearing the kind of like candid moment of him saying like, you know what, I knew this was my time, and I had to take advantage of it. And I just, like you said, man, I could just see Zach, just that. I just see that his skill set, everything about it. So yeah, man.
So Santiago here in the comments says playoffs been great. You guys happy LeBron is out? And I would say absolutely. I mean, I don't root for people to lose, but I like the rooting for the underdog. And to me, LeBron is rarely, if ever, the underdog in a series. Especially he's never lost a first round series before. So even though there were injuries and stuff, it was just nice to see the Suns come out and get a playoff win, and nice to see those guys succeed. I feel bad that LeBron's team wasn't at full strength, and LeBron at times didn't seem like he was at full strength. But I think it just makes for a more exciting playoff to me when I can't guess the outcome. Like when the Golden State years, or when every time LeBron was in the East, you knew that LeBron was going to be in the finals in the East. You knew that the Warriors were going to be in the finals in the West. And it was, to me, made the season in the playoffs a lot more boring to already kind of have a predetermined outcome. So for me, it's exciting. Like I know people on Twitter were like, man, what if it's not the Nets and the Lakers or the Nets and the Clippers? Like, great. If it's like Suns and Bucks, that would be thrilling to me because teams that we don't usually see, that are in the finals. That would be awesome to see.
I mean, for LeBron to be out, of course, it's different, but I like it. I think it's time for the new guys to take over the league. I know, like, LeBron has to play his way into him to that narrative of he's done, but I think it's time. It's time for the Jason Tatums, the Lukas, those guys to take over the league now. I'm ready for the new school to come now. I'm kind of tired of the whole LeBron dominating type deal. So.
Yeah, I mean, I love to see greatness, but greatness that becomes, it's like I don't want to watch the same movie over and over again.
Yeah,
I want to see new main characters. I want to see a new plot.
Yeah,
and some people are content to watch LeBron or Steph or Kobe or Jordan. All those guys that just dominate the league. And it's, I mean, I appreciate the greatness, but I like chaos a lot more. Yeah. I just like chaos.
Yeah.
And so I guess we're rooting for the right team now with chaos in mind. All right. So let's get to these questions. We're going to try and do it not in the order they were asked, but kind of in a somewhat of, a theme. A lot of you guys had questions about the off season. So wanted to start with a question from our guy, Mark Schindler. He is at Premium Hoops. He's wonderful, brilliant basketball mind and just a good person. So definitely follow him. He's especially locked into the Pacers and what's going on with them. So definitely give him a shout out, give him a follow. He's at mschindlerNBA on Twitter. So his question is, what does an ideal offseason look like for the Bulls, in your opinion? And what expectations do you have for next season? What do you think, Larro?
I'm going to stay firm on what we kind of talked about when Stefano was on the show. Is for me, the offseason, I would like for AK to kind of attack it and go over the cap, kind of bring back some of the vets, and add a little bit here and there. Maybe a Reggie Bullock, something along those lines. A player along those lines that brings some 3-point shooting and also some ability to defend, the perimeter. And as for what I expect next year, I think it's time to take that next step and get into the playoffs. That's what I expect. I mean, I'm not one to be this way. I'm kind of the glass half full kind of guy. But if we don't make the playoffs next year, the Vooch trade to me is a failure, and it just isn't a good start in terms of the AK tenure. And that's just where I am.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If we do not make the playoffs next season, I think it's an organizational failure.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
You have to. That's the reason you shipped out 2 first-round picks and a young prospect in Wendell Carter. And it's the reason you sent out Gafford and Hutch and Luke Cornett and those guys to try and get pieces that are going to be, fitting around those the Vooch trade. They got to make it happen. They got, the coach that they think can take them to the playoffs. This is the first time that Billy Donovan's missed the playoffs. So, ideally this offseason, I mean, we really need to shore up some of the weaknesses in the roster. Wing defense, perimeter defense, point of attack defense specifically is the number one need for me.
Yeah.
Secondarily is a point guard, and a point guard in the sense of someone who can be a primary offensive initiator. Now, they don't necessarily need to be like a Chris Paul type point guard, but someone who can reliably get the offense going, set up the different plays. We talked with Will White a few weeks ago about how with Kobe and Zach and Vooch all playing together, the style has changed in the sense that, any one of them can kind of be an initiator. But I do think, if we can get a point of attack defender that can set up the offense, that would be ideal for me. So I don't know what, it doesn't mean that if it's not ideal, it can't be successful. But ideally, you'd want someone that can set up the offense, take the brunt of the defensive load on the perimeter, and be a good shooter as well.
Yeah.
So, and then on the wing, I think we really need to move Pat to the 4. I think we've got some depth pieces we can re-sign, as we talked about in our offseason mock last week with Stefan No. But, ultimately, point guard and wing, I think, are the 2 main needs for this team in the offseason. And next season, it's got to be the playoffs. Got to be.
Yeah, hands down. Hands down.
Let's see. We got a bunch of comments about it, too. So let's see here. Yeah, top 4 or 5 seed. That would be, where the Hawks or the Knicks are this year is where I think the Bulls have the talent to get to next year.
Yeah.
Without question. Now you're going to have teams like Miami and the Celtics who kind of had down years. The Raptors, another one, they're going to be vying for those spots as well. So, if we're in the mix, I think that's fine because those are also quality teams with, multiple All-Stars. So yeah, that's definitely part of those expectations. We'll get to some of these other questions as well. Thank you guys for your comments here. But the next question we've got coming up comes from Leo Grassman at Grassman_420. And he says, what are the realistic defensively minded wing targets you would like to see the Bulls go after? And I know we talked about this a little bit last week. Reggie Bullock was one.
Yeah.
Justice Winslow is another one I thought of as specifically defensively minded because his offense has been atrocious, unfortunately. Yeah. But defensively, he can definitely hold it down. Kyle Lowry would be a great piece for point of attack defense. That's not happening. Yeah. At least not the price we're looking for. But who are some guys you're thinking on the wing that could be kind of sneaky signings?
Like you said, last week, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but a guy like Gary Trent Jr. Is one I would think about. There's a guy that I am not a big fan of, but if you could get him for a cheaper price, I'm kind of in on him, and that's Kelly Oubre. And because I love his measurables.
Yeah.
I think he has the potential to be a really, really good defender. He shot the 3 ball 31% overall this year, but from the corner, he was shooting at 38%. So you could talk me into Kelly Oubre, but not for the money he's going to be asking for.
No.
So if you can find a way to get him cheaper, I'm all in. But he's not the guy that I would want. But Norman Powell maybe, and Derrick Jones Jr. If he opts out of that deal, I'd be in for him as well. But I believe, what is it, $9.5 million that a player option? Is that, I can't remember, but I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it was 9.8. I want to say
9.8?
for his player option. So he's probably gonna. I think there's gonna be some guys this offseason that are disappointed about the contracts that they thought they were going to get.
Yeah.
Dennis Schroeder might be one of those guys.
Yeah.
Based on his playoff performance. But there are, last season, some guys like decline their options, and we were concerned. Like in Portland, who was it that declined their option and then re-signed? It was he got drafted by Utah. Why am I forgetting his name? Then he had a Rodney Hood. Rodney Hood. He ended up signing a new deal, and same with Robin Lopez. Robin Lopez declined his player option, and we're like, why? Then he got signed by Washington. So there's usually a pretty good reason that players are making the decisions they're making. Yeah. There's usually something in the works going on behind the scenes. So we'll see about Kelly Oubre, but the Schroeder one surprised me a lot because he turned down a $21 million per year contract, which I thought was an overpay as an extension itself. So we'll see. I know Brunson. So Brunson's been mentioned here a couple times by Rob. It looks like older, but with a Q. And then Edward Sheeran. Yeah. So I like Jalen Brunson. I think he could be a good backup. I'm not sure if I don't think he's a primary. I think he's a starting point guard. The bigger problem is I think the Mavs really want him, and the Mavs need him pretty heavily. Their backup point guard position is pretty scarce otherwise, and the non-Luka minutes in the playoffs have been, not great. They really need that creator.
Is there any way this may be? Never mind. I'm not going to bring that up. That's not going to happen. There's no way Will Barton decides to not take the $14.7 million, is there? He has a player
That's
option.
A tough one. I think Bart would be a great prospect. I think he would be a great pickup for us if we can get him on the wing. He's a little older now, but he's still got a lot of juice.
THT is another good one too, I think.
Yes. Yeah. So Taylor Horton Tucker, he's got great size. He actually can do quite a bit of self-creation.
Yeah.
For a wing. So he's going to be tough for the Lakers to keep. Lakers have a pretty tough choice. They've got THT, they've got Schroeder, and they've got Alex Caruso. So Alex Caruso is another one on the wing. He's more of a kind of a shooting guard-ish guy, but he's really, really good point of attack defender.
Yeah.
But one of those three, if not multiple of those three guys, could end up being on a different team than the Lakers. And I think the Bulls are in position to swoop in on those types of guys. D'Anthony Melton is another one out of, he's playing for the Grizzlies. Yeah. He's got a very reasonable extension, and he did not get a lot of playing time, and which was kind of shocking to see. Monte Morris is another great backup point guard that could play starting point guard for us.
Yeah.
I definitely think Denver won't give him up, but he's if he's available, he would absolutely be someone I would be interested in at that starting caliber,
especially after the performance he just had. I mean, for him to, because he could distribute the ball, he could run your offense, pretty good defender.
Yeah.
But what he did with scoring the ball was nice, to see with him. So
yeah, no, he's been great. He's been great for Denver. So MG Blazer asks, is Jaylen Brown a trade target at all? I don't think for the Bulls he would be. I mean,
yeah.
He's defensively. He would definitely help the Bulls.
Yeah,
I really, really doubt that the Celtics are going to be shopping him.
Yeah,
I think they're really going to try and move Kemba Walker's contract. Now that's when I do think we should avoid.
Yeah,
Kemba's making 70-something million over the next 2 seasons, I believe, 3 seasons. So that's a tough one. He's still got a lot of. I mean, he's a great playmaker.
Yeah,
but his defense would not help us at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, and he's been dealing with a lot of injury. He's a smaller guard. Yeah, he's a pretty good playmaker out of pick and roll, and he can shoot it. But for me, for that type of money, I need a guy that's a little bit more healthier, at least to be a little bit more healthier than he's been, that you can count on to be there every day with Zach and Vooch and things. So I'll pass on Kemba. That money plus his injury history is not something I want to touch. So
yeah, and even with the idea that the Celtics might attach a draft asset to it,
yeah,
that would still be a tough prospect. I think just financially would be, unless you can do some sort of thing where, I can't even if you signed and traded Lowry and Sato and Aminu, I still think that would be really rough.
Yeah,
if they attached a first or a couple seconds, I don't know. I don't see it. But
also, if you're thinking about it, right, you say, okay, Bulls need a point guard. They have their two in Zach, and they have a big in Vooch, right? You think about, that's a perfect match. But think about it defensively. Like, that's just not going to be good at all. That's too much to have to worry about. You know what I mean? And, defensively it would be too much.
Yeah, I mean, because both Zach and Vooch can hold their own defensively if they've got other competent guys around them. We saw this year the difference when they had competent wing defenders like Garrett Temple or TBJ, or when Pat played at the 4. They were able to hold their own, and we're basically average or slightly below average overall individually. But I think if you get some really good defenders around them, move Pat to the 4, get a great wing, great point guard defender, our defense I think could be solidly above average. Yeah. And if we can just keep it above average and improve our offense, I think our offense could be top 10 this next year if they put the right pieces around them. Zach and Vooch and Kobe by themselves, I think have a great enough affinity, and the Bulls move the ball very, very well. I think they could be a top 10 offense. And if they can keep it 10 to 15 range on the defensive end, we're going to be a really solid playoff team. Yeah. So I think that would be kind of a reasonable expectation on my end. Edward Sheeran mentions DeAndre Hunter. He's really shown a lot this year for the Hawks. So if we could expect a kind of a DeAndre Hunter type jump for Pat defensively, I mean, I would be thrilled with that.
You know what I wonder? Right? Let's say they don't want to trade DeAndre Hunter. How do you feel about Cam Reddish?
So he's in the Justice Winslow category for me, where I know he's got some really nice tools defensively, but I worry a lot about the offense. Cam Reddish struggled in college to shoot effectively from the floor. Terrible true shooting percentage. He has continued to not answer any of those questions in his first couple of years. So, I mean, I think the Hawks, if their Hawks are willing to ship him out, and we want to, have another prospect like TBJ, for example, on the wing, hey, I mean, that's fine if the price is right, but I wouldn't ship out any assets for him. But if it's a buy low candidate, I think that would be definitely worth a gamble because of his size and his skills.
I just find it hard to believe that they would want to move DeAndre Hunter, especially if you go back to the beginning of the season before DeAndre Hunter had that injury. He was balling like a lot more, ball handling juice than you would think, a lot more self-creation juice. So, I mean, I can't see them being like, let's get him out of here for something. I think they feel like he's a part of their core, especially with Onyeka Okongwu and the rest of the guys they have. I can't see Hunter being shipped anywhere. So.
Yeah, no, I think it would be Reddish if anybody. Out of those two. But you mentioned the playmaking and self-creation. We saw that in the Knicks series, the Hawks-Knicks series. I was very impressed by how well Hunter did in those situations. There's a couple other comments here I wanted to address. Luis Villasenor, he says, do you see us making a trade with us already devoid of first-round draft capital? I do. I think we've got some tradable contracts that we can make a trade happen this offseason to upgrade the roster, or at least have the roster make more sense between the front court and the back court. I don't know if we're going to ship out any additional draft assets unless it's a significant upgrade. Exactly. But I think the Vooch move was the move in that sense. MG Blazer asks, would you grab a 2-guard and send Zach to the 3? I don't think so.
No.
Unless you have a guy like Caruso that you're putting at the 2 to kind of, you really need you have to have 2 to 3 competent defenders on the floor with Zach and Vooch at all times, I think. Yeah. You might be able to get away with Kobe, Zach, Vooch, and 2 wing defenders at times. If you want to play 5 out, like with Pat and Lonzo, for example, or Pat and Reggie Bullock or someone like that. But ultimately, I think you're going to do right by Zach and Vooch to have them not taking on the brunt of the defensive assignments. And you really don't want Zach playing the 3 defensively because he's going to get eaten up by some of those wings. I mean, the wings that are starting caliber wings in this league will eat him up on defense.
Yeah, I mean, Zach, we need to keep him in the 2 spot. And that's just because, I mean, like as much as he wants to be a 2-way player, and as much as Thad has said that that's what he's working on becoming, it's hard to believe that he'll be a lockdown defender or just somebody that can really just be a great defender. I think Zach is just he is what he is. He's gotten better historically at scoring, and he's gotten better as a team defender. And I mean, I think that's about it. I mean, maybe we can expect a little bit more of a lead, maybe, but I don't think anything significant where you can say, hey, we could slide him to the 3 and he could hold his own against Kawhi or LeBron. Or I don't think we can do that.
No, I mean, and he may be able to hold up for a stint. Yeah. But what you're asking him to do offensively at the same time is not going to happen if he's expending all the energy on defense and vice versa. Yeah. So I really think you want to pivot your roster to have Vooch and Zach spending most of their energy getting buckets. Yeah. And having other people take the brunt. I mean, because they can hold their own, as I said, but you don't want them expending all that energy on defense. So completely right. Is Lonzo Ball a good defender? I think he's a very solid point of attack defender, and he's a great help defender, which is really what we need. So I think Lonzo would be a great target this offseason. The price is definitely a concern, but as far as the fit with this team, I think he could fit very, very well on the wing or as a point of attack defender for this team.
I totally agree with what you're saying.
What about TJ Warren from the Pacers? Rob asks, any way we can get TJ Warren from the Pacers to play 3 with P. Will at the 4?
You know what, man? That's a good question. I mean, I would really have to pay more attention to him on the defensive side of the ball, because I do think that his biggest strength is scoring the ball, and I don't think that's. I mean, obviously you always use more scoring, but I think that we need to pay more attention to the defensive side of the ball, or a 2-way guy, And I don't know if TJ Warren is someone you want in point of attack, and pick and rolls and having to fight through more screens and things like that. But that's a good thought. That's a good thought, though.
The Pacers are really interesting. They're a really interesting specimen this offseason because there might be a coaching change. Yeah. Probably will be. But it's interesting because, to me at least, all 5 of their starters are quality starters in the NBA. Yeah. Got Malcolm Brogdon. They picked up from the Nets. Why am I forgetting his name? Who am I forgetting? Karis LeVert. Yeah, Karis LeVert at the two spot who replaced Victor Oladipo. Then you've got TJ Warren at the 3, and Sabonis at the 4, and then Miles Turner, who was an all defensive center this year. I mean, he was really, really good, racking up steals and blocks. He was great. So they've got a great starting 5. They obviously weren't all healthy all season, but I'm curious to see what the Pacers do, because if any of those players are available, I think the Bulls could use most of that backcourt. Yeah. Like I would love, I think Malcolm Brogdon would be the ideal fit. Oh, but even I was listening to I was even listening to a podcast with Caitlin Cooper was talking about the Pacers, and she was saying that Malcolm Brogdon's point of attack defense this year was actually pretty poor at times.
Mhm.
So I don't know what that whole team seemed to have some sort of malady with everything going on there.
And watching the Pacers though, I mean, they went over every single screen, and I kind of
when they didn't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
They worked too hard. Yeah,
and I kind of feel like he obviously I didn't watch as much as Caitlin Cooper of the Pacers because obviously most of my attention has been on the Bulls, but I mean, their defensive schemes were everywhere. Like there wasn't any base, there wasn't anything like you come into the game and you know that's what they're running. They never really solidified a base.
Yeah.
And went out from there. They kind of just were okay. Let's try to switch this play. Let's it was just all over the place. So I can kind of see Brogdon having a bad year here and there. So
yeah, to me though, what these kind of things illustrate to me, at least in my mind, is the Bulls' best moves this offseason are going to be sneaking in to some of the big upheavals that teams are going to go through, like the Lakers or like Dallas or the Pacers, teams that are having a lot of roster turnover. You saw, for example, with the James Harden trade going to the Nets, guys like Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen both got picked up pretty cheaply. In fact, like Jarrett Allen was like basically gotten for free or like a second rounder. I can't remember, but it was ridiculous how cheaply he went. So I think when you find the teams that really have a strong target that they have to get, those are the guys you can take advantage of. Yeah, because they're looking for, hey, we need you guys to help facilitate this trade, and I think that Bulls can really jump into that and find themselves the winners on those kind of deals. And we've seen AK get really aggressive with those types of things. So I hope, like for example, we picked up Daniel Tice not because the Celtics wanted to ship him out, but they wanted to avoid the luxury tax. And the only way they could do that was to trade Tice to us. And Tice obviously was a key part of our rotation down the stretch. So those types of moves on the periphery, I think, are going to need to be the Bulls' bread and butter this offseason because of their lack of cap room and flexibility there. The Lowry and Kristaps stuff is pretty funny. I do not want Kristaps. He's a more expensive Lowry. I know you've got some opinions on Kristaps. He's getting a little too much hate, but he's a more expensive and more injured Lowry right now. Yeah. So I don't want anything to do with him. But apparently Lowry. There's rumors that Lowry wants to go to Dallas. So maybe they can get a cheaper Kristaps Porzingis and Lowry and use the extra money somewhere else to bring them a star. But that'd be pretty funny. In that same line, Luis Villasenor asks, you think Marko Simonovic is coming this year? I think he will. I mean, the spot is going to open up if Lowry gets traded in that front court. He's going to be a very cheap front court option. Yeah. Someone that we can help develop with our new shiny development staff that hasn't really done anything yet. So I do think that this would be a great year for him to come over. I think there's opportunity for him to play, and I think financially it makes a lot of sense for the Bulls to do that. Yeah, no, I agree. I think AK kind of alluded to the fact of, he wants them to come over, but I think he wants to see how things play out for a little bit in terms of, if they can fill that roster spot and maybe give him another year to improve over there on certain things. But I would expect him to be over here and, like you said, work with the development group. And I mean, I have a friend that played over in that league, and he said that the dude can play. So, obviously, it's not NBA level, but he did say that he sees why they drafted him, because he has that skill level to bring over to the league. So I kind of want to see him over here. I want to see what he can do, what else he can bring. Yeah. So for sure. All right, so we went off on a little bit of tangent there, but I wanted to get to our next question. This is from J0F3, who thinks Ryan Pace is the best GM in the league. But he had some questions about Spencer Dinwiddie and Lonzo. So his first question was talking about Dinwiddie and Lonzo as possible targets, and wanted to see what our thoughts were on Spencer Dinwiddie being a prime target for the point guard spot. So I'm going to hand this one off to you first because I know you watched a little bit more of him, but I have a feeling we're going to say something similar here. So what do you got on Spencer?
Like Spencer, dude is he's a good player, man. He's he would come here and he'd be fine, but I think what we need to focus on is if we're going to get a point guard and have him start over Kobe, I don't want to just get any point guard. Like what Spencer does, like Kobe shoots better from three. He's, in my opinion, a better scorer. So I would rather have Kobe in terms of that. But if we're going to get a point guard, I'd rather go for the Mike Conleys or the Kyle Lowrys, guys like that. Spencer doesn't do much for me defensively. I don't want him guarding. He doesn't do much for me defensively. And I know people are probably like, dude, you're saying you don't, but Kobe doesn't defend either. But my point is we have a guy that's Kobe's got a $4.8 million contract, and he can score the ball. He's a great catch and shoot player, somebody that you can have with Vooch. I would have to look at Spencer's catch and shoot numbers, but I don't think they would be as good as Kobe's. And it just makes more sense. He's a cheaper, younger option. Why would you go get somebody that is a better, like, can get to the bucket, but we need shooting. We need shooting, if anything. So in terms of if you're going to go get another point guard and it be Spencer, I kind of would, like I said, I would go with Kobe because he's a better shooter and better catch and shoot player. Spencer doesn't do it for me in terms of that, and also defensively. So, and he wouldn't be as cheap as Kobe. So that's just my take on Spencer.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Defensively, I think is where my worries are. Offensively, he can get to the rim, and he shoots a pretty good percentage of the rim. He's a pretty decent shooter. I think his shot profile is definitely in line with what the Bulls can do. I think offensively, he would definitely help. He can set up other players, and he can create his own offense fairly well. We saw that he did that with Brooklyn when Kyrie was down for most of the year. Defensively is where I worry. I mean, he does have the size. The ACL is what really worries me. He was not a great defender before. He's not terrible, but he's not a great defender, and he's coming off an ACL. So I don't have a lot of confidence that he's going to be better than he was the last time we saw him healthy on the floor. And as you mentioned with Kobe can do a lot of the same things. Kobe doesn't finish quite as well at the rim, but I like, for the price point that they're going to command, I would prefer Kobe over spending a lot of money on Spencer Dinwiddie. So I like, but here's my thing with Dinwiddie. We never should have cut him in the first place. I was mad at the time because we had Michael Carter-Williams and Jaren Grant on the roster, and we had a spot for Dinwiddie. We cut him so we could have 14 spots going into the season. Ended up replacing or filling that spot with RJ Hunter, who played like a game or two. And I mean, no one remembers RJ Hunter because of that. Like he didn't play. And Spencer obviously revived his career, and he's going to get a decent payday, I think, with Brooklyn or another team. Yeah. And it's too bad. It's too bad. I think he could have really helped us at the point guard spot the last few years, but these are things that happen. So JOF3 had two other questions, so appreciate his questions. Asked, who are your top 3 realistic free agent targets and why? So he mentions Dinwiddie as one, being able to score and make and play some defense. So my top 3 free agent targets, I think Lonzo Ball has got to be up there just because of how realistic it could be with the sign and trade options, with how hard Woj was reporting AK was pursuing Lonzo Ball, and the repeated need of this team it's been said by the team over and over again that a veteran point guard, or at least a more realistic point guard option, has been in their cards for the last year since they got on the job. So Lonzo Ball is one of them. I think a wing, a cheaper wing, or kind of an MLE mid-level guy like Alex Caruso, like Reggie Bullock, or a buy low option like Justice Winslow, or some sleepers like DeAnthony Melton, Taylor Horton Tucker, kind of those guys. So I don't know which one I'd put in there.
Yeah,
I mean, Alex Caruso and Reggie Bullock would probably be the guys I'd put in there first, as far as being available for the money that we have, and fitting the needs. So those would probably be my top three.
I think we probably have the same three, or around about. So mine would be probably, if we can get Lonzo, that would be one for me, because I think he had some versatility offensively and defensively. Second would be probably Reggie Bullock. And man, the third option would be, I would be open, because it would depend on like who rejects their player options, and things like that. Because I wouldn't mind having a Derrick Jones Jr. I wouldn't mind having honestly, dude, I'm just gonna go top two, because these are the two guys that I want. Okay, and
answer the question, Larro.
And I think are realistic, Alonzo and Reggie Bullock, because I'm not so worried about, like, I get Spencer Dinwiddie and I get all these other big names, but realistically, with the cap that we're working with, realistically, who can we get? And who knows? Maybe AK puts together maybe he is talking with a team like he did with the Magic. Maybe he's has a plan and we just don't know until it happens. But until that happens, I don't see a lot of things you can do in terms of going out and getting big time talent. Bringing in a guy like Reggie Bullock, who's a steady veteran, who can start for you at the three and push Pat to the four, who can shoot the ball, catch and shoot. He's a pretty good point of attack defender. The guy was guarding Trey and doing a pretty good job until Trey did a few crazy moves that you can't really defend. But Lonzo, you think about Lonzo, he's improved in the catch and shoot category. He can run your offense. He may not be the best at half court creation and half court playmaking, but he's a guy that you can do that with defensively. If you want him to guard 1 through 3, maybe some fours, depending on who they are, he can do that, and those are the guys you want to look for, the guys that you can insert to the team and it'll just get rolling because they feel the needs that you need. So,
and anytime you can get a player that can fill multiple needs or play multiple positions, that's what the NBA has been moving towards. I feel like your point guards are, instead of being 6'1", 6'2", they're now getting 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and the wings are all 6'7" to 6'8". Yeah, and then your centers now are sometimes they're undersized. Like you got guys like Draymond Green playing the center, or PJ Tucker playing center, and so that versatility. The reason why is because you got teams like Brooklyn that can just expose your defense, and the least amount of difference you can get if you're switching, if your defense is switching, if you're switching from one guy to another, you're switching from Jay Crowder to on the Suns, the better, the more similar you can find those defenders, the better your defense is going to be, the better chance you're going to have of being successful in that switching scheme. So those are kind of guys like Reggie Bullock and Lonzo Ball can guard multiple positions. Justice Winslow can guard multiple positions. Alex Caruso. That's why I liked Sato. I still like Sato, is because he can guard 1 through 3. He's very versatile. He's not, he's not going to kill you in any, he's not going to get targeted on defense. And, he wasn't an amazing defender this year, but he's just competent. He's versatile. I've always liked versatile players.
Yeah.
And, that's why the Vooch trade makes it even more important, I think, that we get them, because Vooch is not very versatile in comparison to guys like Tice or Wendell Carter or even Gaff.
Yeah.
So let's see if we land the number. Edward Sheeran says, if we land the number, I'm really glad that Ed Sheeran, famous world singer, is tuning into our show every Saturday. So I appreciate you, Ed. I really like some of your music. But if we land number 4 pick, which would you choose? Green, Kuminga, or would you dangle the pick to get another return? So you're the draft guy here. I have not paid a lot of attention to the draft, but I want to see what you got there.
I think, I think a lot of people they fell in love with the Kuminga with the Ignite in certain games, but honestly, I depending on the team, I don't think he's a top 4 pick anymore. I think he's kind of he's still top 10, but I don't think he's a top 4, top 5. Maybe depending on the team, like I said, if anybody trades up, but I wouldn't personally take him at the 4. He's just not a big need right now. And if we're going to take somebody at the 4 position, you want, especially with the talent that's there, you want somebody that can come in and kind of help the team right away, and especially with the stages that we're at. And I got to pick out of the options that he said. He said what? Kuminga and
Green, or would you trade the pick?
If those are the options, I would trade the pick, because we already have Jalen Green and Zach. And Jalen Green is probably going to be a better defender as Zach, but in terms of like his scoring ability, I think we already have that. So yeah, I would trade the pick. If those are the only 2 options I have,
Okay.
I would trade it.
All right. It's funny. I feel like I see a lot of Bulls fans targeting 2 guards in trades or like, I don't know why that's their dream scenario, but I'm like, we have enough 2 guards. We have enough 2 guards right now. We were like, oh, bring in Bradley Beal. Like, I would love Bradley Beal on this team. Yeah. But if you're gonna trade the farm for a free agent, I don't know. Like, I feel like we need some more versatility. We need some more stuff. So yeah, Green. I was reading that article I think it was by PD Webb about, and he talked about Zach LaVine, and that was a really cool article. Is Sato a free agent? No. His contract's not guaranteed. It's half. So his contract is $10 million next year. $5 million of that is guaranteed. So if we were to decline it, or I'm not sure what the technical term is, but not pick up his contract for whatever reason, it has to be done on August 1st, the day before free agency starts on August 2nd. But that $5 million would be on our books, and we would have no Sato on our team. So I think it's really unlikely that both Thad or Sato end up being waived by the team and that money on the books. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. That both of those are far more valuable on our roster than not, and could be valuable trade pieces, in my opinion. So let's see. We had we had one more question from, I think I've been saying J0F3. It might be JOF3. Sorry about that if I got that wrong. But he basically says, all right, if we did release that and Sato and a bunch of other people, so we had a bunch of cap space. We went the cap space route that we talked about last week. Who would you give those contracts to? And I think Stefano put it pretty cleanly last week. If you're going to do that, it better be for a guy like Mike Conley or Kyle Lowry, or the one of the big free agents, or if Kawhi is available for some crazy reason, that kind of thing. Otherwise, I just don't think that there's anybody worth the big money that guys like Kelly Oubre or Dennis Schroeder or Spencer Dinwiddie or even Lonzo Ball are asking for. I don't think it's worth overpaying those free agents and gutting our roster to do so. I just don't think it's worth it ultimately for me. Yeah. But thank you so much for the questions on that. So Larro, you had anything to add to that one?
Nah, I mean, you got to be able to you either got, like you said, you got to get Conley, you got to get Lowry, or you got to, if Kawhi opts out, maybe attack it. But I think the best route is go over the cap, man. So, I mean, I agree with what you just said.
Okay. All right. Our next question comes from our guy, George DG at Hold That Joe. I love the Boozer reference. It's great. So his question is, obviously both are huge needs, but what is the biggest need in the offseason if you had to choose one, wing or point guard? What would you choose?
Wing.
Okay.
Wing for me. Yeah, hands down.
I'd be there too. I think the point of attack defense specifically is more important than us getting the point guard, which I did not think I was going to say. At the beginning of this year, I would have told you point guard. At the end of this year, I think with the way their offense runs and with the strides that Kobe's made in that department, I think we can get by without a quote unquote point guard. I don't think we can get by next year without a quality wing defender.
Yeah.
I think that's key.
Even if you think about how teams are going, like, yeah, you still have your Russell Westbrook, you still have Chris Paul, you still have those point guards, but a lot of teams are starting to go more towards the wing initiators. So you got to be able to have defenders like that can guard that and have depth at it, and that's the biggest thing, depth at that position. Because if you truly don't think Pat is a three, then you got to start building a team as if he's not going to be a three and get more depth at that. And that's just where I'm at with that one.
So you don't want to play Lowry at the three next year?
No, not at all. Not at all.
It surprisingly did not go as bad as I thought it would, simply because he wasn't defending anybody anyway. So you might as well just have him stand out on the wing and shoot like a wing would do anyway.
Exactly.
Somehow it was not as big of a train wreck as I thought it was going to be. So that was nice. A nice surprise.
Yeah, man. Thought it was going to be bad.
Really. All right, so let's get to the Damian Lillard rumor. Our guy, TNAC23, says, if Dame Lillard is disgruntled, we all agree it's worth pitching Zach for Dame, right? This is a tough one. This is a tough one. Here's the rule that I live by. If you can get an all NBA talent in the trade market, the general rule is do it. Do it first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
I think you can attract other talent around him if you've got a guy like that. Trading Zach would be really difficult, and I think the appeal to Dame would be difficult to pitch for him, right? Because he's got a team that's built around him right now, maybe not very effectively, but is a team with Kobe, him, Pat, Vooch, and whatever stuff we put together. Is that better? Is that a better team than what he's got right now next to him with CJ McCollum and Nurkic and some of those defenders around him like DJJ and who's the other guy they traded two first round picks for that I'm blanking.
Norman, you talking about?
Oh no, not Norman Powell. My mind is gone tonight. It's the guy who he was in Philly. He was at the Wolves and the Rockets.
Wow, why am I
not coming to me?
Rocco.
Robert Covington. I was like Richardson. No, but it has an R in it. So yes, would that be a better team than the Bulls? I think it'd be tough to tell Dame, other than the fact that you get to play in the East, that's going to be a better squad for you. Now, I would still try and do it.
Yeah,
but I would love Dame time in Chicago.
I will say, man, as much as I love Nurkic. Like, I love that dude. I think he doesn't get talked about enough. I love that guy. But
he's great.
Him, like a pick and roll with Dame and Vooch would be a hell of a thing to guard. But then you think about, because Dame defensively is just not. Would you honestly? I think he might be worse than Zach.
He is. Like, this year he has been an awful defender.
Like,
there's no question.
Watching him in that series against the Nuggets, I'm just like, dude. But he gives you 55, so I don't know, man. But Yeah, man, that would be tough. But again, like he's all NBA, he's top 10 player. You know, you got to find a way to do it. So
I was thinking about this, like if Steph Curry didn't exist, would our opinion of Dame Lillard be even better than it is now? Because I mean, he's like Steph Curry light in so many ways, and very and pretty heavy on the light. Like he's so good. Man. He's not at Dame level, or I'm sorry, he's not at Steph level, but I think he'd be thought of it as close to that level if Steph didn't exist. But anyways, it was so much fun to watch him in that Nuggets series.
Yeah, and, man, he was unreal, man. He was unreal. I do think that sometimes, yes, you get paid by him dropping 55 and making 12 threes. But when he's not doing that, I feel like he hurts the team in a way because you don't get to running your offense and getting into your offenses. CJ doesn't get into a rhythm because Dame is just coming off a pick and roll and pulling from far away. And I feel like sometimes it hurts his team in a way, but then he has those games where you're just like, damn, I mean, what do you do? Like you're not going to tell him to pass the ball, so yeah, I don't know.
That's a tough nut to crack. I don't know what they're going to do there. The coaching suggestions that have come out last day or two have been
it's another
I don't know. We'll see what happens there, but yeah. Okay, next question we got from our guy Jermaine Jones. He says, if the Bulls win the draft, who fits this team next to Zach better, Cade Cunningham or Jalen Suggs? I already know what you're gonna say on this one.
I mean, Salim, that's in the chat, he knows who I love. I'm a Jalen Suggs guy, but guys, it's Cade. You don't pass on Cade. I'm sorry. You got a guy who can run. He's a hell of a playmaker. He can shoot the three, pull up threes, catch and shoot. He can rebound. He can defend. Come on, man. I mean,
he's like 6'8". Right?
Yeah,
he's huge.
Yes.
Yeah. No, man. If we hit the top 3 pick and we come out with Jalen Suggs, I will be ecstatic.
But
if you have a chance.
Yeah.
So in this situation, the Bulls would have to win the first pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. If you win the first pick in the draft, you write Cade Cunningham's name down, you give it to the commissioner today, and you never think about it again.
I mean, I was a skeptic of Cade before this season, and I have to admit I was proven wrong to the fullest, man. After game, he just shut me up. Every critique I had about him, his shooting was like, I never thought his shooting was going to be as good as it was, and it really is really good. His pull-up shooting and that's what you need in today's NBA. You got to be able to be a pull-up shooter or have it in your bag, and he has it.
Because you can beat those drops. You can beat those drops like we see Dame do.
Man, he's A1, man. I mean, he's a heck of a prospect. So
that's what I thought you were going to say. So.
Man, I love Suggs, but I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I mean, think about it, right? You keep Kobe at point guard, you got Cade at the 3, and then you can put Pat at the 4. We're set, man. We're set for some years.
That'd be fun. All right, Salim, we're going to get to your question too. Salim asked a question, 2 questions, in fact. So if you guys are not following Salim, you should. He is one of the co-hosts of Bulls Gold. You can follow him at Jordan Dynasty on Twitter. He is very, very knowledgeable. One of the best Bulls fans you'll ever meet and interact with. So shout out Salim. He says, if you could add any player to this Bulls roster in the history of the league who isn't or wasn't an all-star or superstar Hall of Fame kind of guy, so like a role player, I'm kind of assuming from that, who would you add to this Bulls team?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
So I had so Salim, I hope I'm not cheating the question. I had 2 guys, one today and then one that I would take that's not in the league now. And my first one is somebody I think that would bring some shooting, rebounding. You'd be able to play him at the 3, the 4, even today at the 5. He could pass the ball. Lamar Odom. Like I would love to have Lamar Odom on this team just with his ability to guard and to his ability to play point forward. Like he would be really nice on this team. And another guy that's in the league today is OG Anunoby. Like if you could add him with his shooting ability and put him at the 3 next to Pat at the 4, I'm good. Sign me up.
I'd love to have a guy like Tony Kukoc would be
Tony.
really fun on this team. It'd be really fun. Yeah, player today. This is like the going back in the past was hard for me. There's so many players, like nobody came to mind specifically other than like Kukoc was one of them that I think of guys who were ahead of the time, like ahead of the game of their time, and who would fit better in today's NBA.
Yep.
Lamar Odom that's another great pick. Today, man, I would love a guy like Fred VanVleet would be really fun. He's just such a dog out there. Man. He would bring a fire to this team, and he's great on offense, great on defense. He'd be really, really fun. Yeah. I think, he's been fun to watch on the Raptors, and see where he came from. Yeah. Is Kukoc Hall of Fame? Is he going to Hall of Fame? Did I cheat here? I can't remember.
I think he was nominated or is on the ballot, I think.
Did he
I think he was on. I don't think he got in yet. If I remember right. I remember hearing it on the radio, but I don't remember if he got in or not. Let me see.
I can't recall. While we do that, Salim's other question is, who is the number one Kris and Larro fan? And I think we already know why or who it is.
Yeah.
Dang it. Okay, well, I'm like 3 weeks late to this then, unfortunately. So I've been disqualified. I apologize, but yeah, Salim is our number one fan for sure. Although we've got some people nipping at his heels. So don't miss any more weeks, Salim. No more excuses. We love you, guys. We love you, man. All right, we've got 2 more questions. So we've got. Let's see. Actually, let's look at the chat real quick. Kyle Anderson, he'd be really fun, dude. Did you see the highlight play, the ultimate slow-mo highlight play, where he gets the fast break?
Man,
slows down at the free throw line, and just does the like smallest Euro step you'll ever see. Anyways, that was so much fun.
He's really he's really became such a great role player. Somebody that can come in and fit almost on any team. Like he's really a great player, man. He changed his game, and love him, man. I love Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, he's on a reasonable contract. Now the Grizzlies, I think, are a team to really, really watch this offseason because they've got like 13 rotation quality players on good deals. Like all of them are on good deals. And you saw how much fire they played with against Utah. I know that it was, 4-1 in that series, but that did not tell the whole story of how that series went. The Grizzlies were competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, they went at the Utah Jazz, especially Ja. Every time Ja just tried to obliterate Rudy Gobert on every drive. He tried to dunk on him so many times.
The audacity of that young man.
So much fun to watch.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Dylan Brooks is a guy that I've been kind of high and low on at different points, but like my low points is like, people talk about Zach LaVine being a chucker. I'm like, Dylan Brooks is a chucker. Yeah. More so, but he showed out in the playoffs. He's a really fiery competitor. Mm-hmm. So he does put up a lot of shots. and is not always making the best decisions, but he's a type of guy that you would want on your team anyway.
Yeah.
If you can put you kind of need one of those guys in your team. Ours this year was Denzel Valentine, the guy that just is unconscious out on the floor for good and bad. Obviously not at the level that Dylan Brooks is, but
right.
Yeah. But you need those guys in your roster that just come in and fill it up. Like, Jordan Clarkson fills that role in the Utah Jazz. Just come get you some buckets.
Oh man.
They're fun to watch.
Yeah, man.
They're real fun to watch.
Jordan Clarkson is, man, I remember watching him when he was with the Lakers, and I'm like, this dude is kind of, I don't know, man. He might be in China soon. Who knows?
Like Aaron Brooks.
But he got to a perfect situation in Utah, man, and he's taking full advantage. Shout out to Jordan Clarkson, man. He's doing a really good job.
Speaking of guys in China, Jim, I still believe in you, buddy. Still believe in you. I believe in you dropping like 50 points average in China, though. That man's crazy. Let's see. Oh, Ben Alexander, what do you think of Dinwiddie? We covered it earlier in the show, but I think he would help offensively as a league creator. I worry about his defense a little bit and kind of the redundancy with Zach and Kobe on the offensive end. But, depending on the price point, he could be a guy that you could bring in. If you can bring him in for like MLE, I think that's a swing that might be worth taking. Yeah, so keeping Tice, I know we covered that last week. That's tough. I don't know if we can keep Tice, and I don't know if we have rotation minutes for him. If we do move Pat to the 4, the rotation is going to be tough in the front court because you're going to have Pat, Vooch, and Tice, and Thad, and probably Simonovic if he comes over, or another backup 5, because we do need a backup 5 now that Gafford's out, and if we don't keep Tice. So we'll see, but Tice definitely brings that kind of attitude that you want on the Bulls. All right, let's get to our last. We got 2 questions by Matt Hearn, Matt Hearn1 from the UK. Shout out to you and all of the Bulls fans in the UK. Appreciate you guys. His question is, if next season the Bulls make the playoffs, first round we go to 7, we need a bucket in the last 5 seconds to win the game. Going off this year's roster and potential roster for next season, who gets the bucket? I'm going to say Zach LaVine. It's got to be Zach LaVine, right?
Yeah.
At least from what we know today.
Yeah. Or I could see like a dump off, some type of play where it's a dump off to Vooch in the post and somebody comes a double. Maybe you find Kobe for a 3 or you find Zach, But yeah, Zach. Yeah.
Or Pat for the putback dunk.
Boom. There it is.
That'd melt my heart. I'd be in. I'd be all in. Kawhi 2.0 if he does it. I'm ready.
I'm ready. That dunk or that little like claw floater he likes to shoot.
I love that. I love that shot. I gotta go back and listen because someone told me I did not watch the post game by Billy Donovan, but someone said that his comments weren't necessarily like telling him not to take that shot, even though that was kind of what was reported by the media. I never went back and checked, but I hope that's not the case because that's the part of the bread and butter of his game. I love that part of his game.
I went back and watched it. He was saying that he didn't want him taking the long contested 2. So I think he wants him to either get to the bucket or, take your 3s when you have it. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I kind of feel like he's like, dude, if you're going to shoot contested 2s, I'd rather you get to the bucket and try to maybe get to the free throw line, kind of deal. So
if it were me saying that, if I was Billy Donovan in that situation, what I would have been referring to is when he gets an open 3 on the wing or in the corner, and he always does that little pump fake step, and he steps into a contested 2 sometimes, or he travels or step on the baseline. That kind of stuff, or step out of bounds. That kind of stuff is what I would say you gotta cut out of your game, and he knows that. He's talked about that specifically in his post game comments. So. Edward Sheeran, who's going to be the meme player next year with Felicio and Denzel probably gone? I hope nobody. I don't think any of them deserve to be the meme status. I don't think. You saw what Campaign's been doing this year, and he was the Tank Commander meme, the face of the Tank Commander meme for the years he was here. I felt bad. I was probably one of the few people that actually thought campaign would end up being a good player. I hoped it was with the Bulls. I didn't have a lot of confidence that it would be with the Bulls because of our lack of player development, but
Yeah.
he showed a lot at Murray. Like, anyways, he was good. He was good, and he showed some promise before he had several injuries with the foot in Oklahoma City and Chicago. And then obviously, I think what bothers me about that one, and sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, Larro, for a second, but
It's all good.
let's say he just flamed out of the league, right? He did, he was out of the league. Let's just say he flamed out. Would the comments still have been justified if he'd flamed out versus what he's done, which is come back and be a key cog in a playoff run? I think you got to treat these guys like human beings. I don't think anyone should be clowned in that way. And I don't know. I just thought the way that the fan base treated him in general was disappointing to me. I know we've talked about this in other shows and other weeks, so I won't get into it too much. I just feel like treat these guys with respect. They are the 450 best basketball players in the world. They are really, really good at what they do. Even the worst ones could smoke you in a one-on-one, could smoke any one of us. I just think, if we could tone down the criticism on some of these things and keep it just to basketball and not, make it personal as much, it would be lovely. But I always think about that if, because there have been a bunch of guys that have flamed out and were clowned and flamed out and never came back. But does that make it any less right or wrong? I don't think so. But anyways, that's all I got to say on that one.
I think along those lines, you think about like the Kwame Brown stuff that's going on now.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you listen to like what he's saying, I mean, he's basically like saying what you're saying, like, how am I a bust when, I helped my mom get out of, the hood and I was the first person to, he was just really laying it out. Like, how can you label me a bust when I'm really not? I took care of my family. I made, it would, you got to really like listen to what he's saying. Like, obviously he's attacking Steven Jackson and
Stephen A. Smith
and Becky with the good hair, who he calls Matt Barnes. But like he's just tired of. You could tell there's been it's pent up anger towards being called a bust and being called a bum and all this, and it's just he's just letting it out,
Yeah.
And man, I think like you said, dudes are human. They're humans. They're not robots. They just happen to be really great at something that we're not.
It's tough, and I think most of the time it's us as the fans and media that place them on a pedestal. They don't do that to themselves. They're trying to be the best they can be. We're the ones that say, "Oh, I think he can be an all-star. I think he can be a superstar." We put these expectations on him, and then when they don't measure up to our standards, we clown them.
Yeah.
And so, if you're a lottery pick like Cameron Payne, was 14th pick, is a lottery pick. We think he's the point guard of the future, right? Who put that moniker on him? Did he say he was the point guard of the future? No. It was Garpax that said that, or fans said that. And so just remember that if it's your expectations and your words, don't judge someone else by your own expectations. Like that's not on them, that's on you. Now, if they come out and say, I'm going to be this and that, and they don't, you can hold them to their standard, I think. Yeah. And I think it's, I think it's fair to expect people to be, quality players in the league and hope they will be and root for their success, but I think we get a little too far sometimes.
Yeah.
So
no, you're correct. Pandemic P.
Paul George bought a little bit of that on himself.
He did
because it was his words.
Yeah,
but it also went a little too far. Now a lot of it's harmless fun and nonsense. But he talked about the mental load and strain about that. So. Anyways, all right, our last question also comes from Matt Hearn. He says, what would be considered a successful season next year, ultimately?
For me, it would be playoffs. I would like to not be in the play-in. I would like to actually be a top 6 seed.
Yep.
Make it. I want to say make it out of the first round, but if you don't make it out of the first round, at least make it a game 7, 7-game series, and something like that. You got to be out of the first round. Let's take strides. Take strides. like big strides, because you have the talent to do that. So playoffs, first round win. I'll just say it like that. I would like a first round, at least a first round win.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Successful for me.
You got to see progress. You got to see growth from Kobe, growth from Pat. You got to see the cohesion start to build with Zach and Vooch specifically. You got to bring in those guys in the offseason. They're going to make the roster make more sense and really start, so you can start to see the vision that AK and Mark Eversley have for this team. We have to be able to see it, right? I don't want another season where John Paxson's like, well, we didn't really get to, figure out what we have on our roster because of X, Y, and Z. No more excuses. Because this season we did see some progress, but there were a lot of excuses. And I'm not saying that just because they're excuses doesn't mean that they're valid, or not valid. But there can't be excuses next year. You got to show us something, and so I think you got to make it. Yeah, you got to be a playoff team, not like a fringe play-in team. You got to be a playoff team. You got to have a win. I think a 500 record would be successful in that way, and you got to make some noise. You got to show out. You got to show that Zach and Vooch are going to be a good pairing going forward. Yeah, that can be a success. A successful offense in the playoffs. Maybe, so I don't know if they're going to win, but you got to show some success there.
Maybe just a little bit more. I want to see growth in terms of let's not lose games that we should win. Let's not give up 10-point leads,
fourth quarter leads.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's
not turn, which they did better in terms of the turnovers. Let's not turn the ball over a lot. Let's see some more consistency. In terms of everyone. And those are the things I'm looking for. The biggest thing for me is the not collapsing, not coming into the season and losing by 30 or 20 points. So let's come into the season. You got a competent coach now. You have Zach. You have players with you. You have a guy in Vooch who takes so much pressure off of you. Before we get to the playoffs, I just want to see growth in regular season building towards the playoffs. So that's where I'm at.
Let's keep the soul crushing losses in the single digits this year, because it felt like half of their losses were awful. Not just, last second shot. It was rip your heart out types of losses. There's way too often.
Yep.
Yeah. So keep it less than 3. Less than 3 soul crushing losses, please. Yeah. I don't know if I can take it anymore, man. That was tough. There was a lot of growth this year, but there were too many Boylan-ish type moments with this team that stuck out. So
no doubt.
All right. So that's all the questions we had. Thank you guys so much. I was not sure, at least I'll speak for myself. I was not sure that with how little we've been able to do the show. We've only done it for 3 months, and we don't have a whole ton of followers yet. So we're trying to build that. We appreciate you guys giving us all the questions you did. I was not sure we were going to get enough questions to last the show. We were prepping some film to go through instead if we didn't have it. But you guys came through. Appreciate your questions, and I thought it was a productive discussion. And okay, so what's going on here? Aldo saying, stand by for big Larro news. What's going on here? What news?
Well, tomorrow I'm going to be joining Dan and Aldo. Yep, there we go. We're going to talk some Bears football tomorrow. So I want to say around 9 I'll be on. It's 9 Central. And we'll have some fun, man. Talk some Bears, maybe some shows that I may have watched that I think you all should maybe take a look at. Movies, maybe, who knows, man. Tuesday. So let's just have if you can listen. I'm gonna have some fun with those guys. So it is gonna be Tuesday night. So tune in.
Now, you are really you are versatile. You're the type of player that we need on the Bulls. Versatile.
This guy
can chat up multiple sports across town here. Yeah. Salim's right. Larro's an all-around talent. All-around talent.
These guys, man. Hey, you know, I just love to talk the city's city sports, man. I love sports, man. That's it, man. That's all it is, baby. That's all it is. You know, watch a little football here, a little baseball here. You know,
I'm a lot pickier. I just like the Bulls. Don't care about the Bears. Don't care about the Cubs or the Sox or the Blackhawks or anyone else.
It is not too late. It is not too late to join the bandwagon of the Chicago Bears. You can become a monster of the Midway from the West Coast.
Should I get a Soldier Fields shirt?
There you go. See, come on, man. Join the team, man. It's not too early. We've had some years of. I understand, but come on over, man.
Thanks. Hey, Luis, thanks for the comment. I appreciate that. We try and be informative, but we want to make sure we feel accessible. Like everyone should be able to participate and understand and appreciate basketball and the Bulls. So. Glad that's the vibe we're giving off. That's what we're trying to do. So,
yeah.
Do I know what a pigskin is? I can throw a pigskin over the mountains. That's to quote a really great movie.
But I had to bring something up. So,
okay.
Pat, obviously, you know, if you know this show, you know me. You know, you follow me on Twitter. You know, I'm a big Pat Williams guy. And I've been watching. I've been going back and watching some games. Yes, I know I'm a nut. People are probably like, "Dude, there's playoff basketball on. Why are you watching Bulls games?"
But, you don't know, Larry, if you're asking that question.
but man, I was able to go back and it. I'm going to say this, and people are like, oh, here we go. He's 19, right? He's 19. But a lot of the things that he already has in his bag, it's so fun. But, like, there's some of the things that I want to bring up is it's like, I think some people were a little bit disappointed in the second half. And I can understand that. And
yeah.
That's a fair critique, you know. But I think one of the things is when, you know, I had a cousin who tried out for the league. He had a tryout with the Phoenix Suns. Was in a camp battle with Jeff McGinnis, if anybody remembers that name, to be a backup for Steve Nash. And he told me that one of the biggest things, like, people don't understand is, like, when you're trying to prepare for the league, you don't know exactly how to prepare or what to add to your game. Or, like, people can say, like, oh man, you're gonna need to pull up here, you're gonna need to blah, 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 but you don't know how teams are going to guard you. You don't know how your role is going to change, what teams are going to expect from you, what type of shape you need to be in, what type of food you need to eat, there's just so many things that go into it. And
yeah,
I think, you know, film was the biggest thing he brought up to me. You know, like, coming into the league, you have film of your college tape, you know, but you don't have film and practices and the player development that you would get at the next level. The not having to worry about classes and things like that. Like, your job is basketball. Like, now in the summers, you have time. Okay, coach needs me to do this. When I guarded Booker, I needed to do this. Things like that. Like, I think people, I think it's fair to critique him, but I also think to quote again Tom Waddle, you have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Like, it's okay to say, hey, the second half was tough for Pat, but you also have to understand that there are things that he didn't know about the league. There are things that he is going to get better at in the league. And if you go about his baseline, what he is now already, it's only going to get better. And I do think his position right now, I think he's best at is a 4. And I understand that, but I deep down still believe he can be a 3. And I think that, you know, being in the league, like you said, you get your personal chefs, you get everything, you get your personal trainer, strength and conditioning. changing your body. I do think there are things that he's going to do this offseason and going forward that will help him. So the reason why I went on this little tangent is because I saw a few things on Twitter and I'm like, I don't know. I think people are just, recency bias. You just remember what you saw before. And I went back and I listened to Thad's presser, and he was saying that like Pat has to understand that like, if Zach is not in and Vooch is not in, he has to get that mindset of, you know what, it's my team. I have to do this. I have to take these shots. And I think, and again, that's why that's one of the reasons that Thad has to come back, because you may have guys that don't say that to Pat, and, Pat has to find his way, and having a guy like Thad and GT is huge. And I think that hearing that, I think he's the type of player that he honestly, like Thad said it, like he honestly didn't know when he made a great play. There were certain questions that he would ask, and like, dude, you didn't know that? Like, how do you not know that? And I think he's only going to get better. And I think he has a chance at being, and I'm not even gonna put it there, but no, I think I'll
say it. He's going to be special. He's going to be special, Larro, because of the things he can already do. And his biggest weakness is he doesn't realize how good he really is.
Yeah.
That's what Thad said, right? When he realizes how good he really is, league's in trouble. And I mean, that is one of the biggest swing factors for next season is the growth of Patrick Williams.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. No, I mean, what's the downside of us being super cautious with this? Hey man, I want him to succeed. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be a great in this league. And at worst he'll disappoint me. Who cares? That's my own expectation. But I think what I've seen from him, he's going to be one of the best. I think he's going to absolutely deserve to be drafted at the fourth spot, like we did, if not better. I think him and LaMelo have the highest ceilings of anyone in this draft class. So we'll see. Yeah. But I'm with you, Larro. Believe me, I'm pumping the Kool-Aid into my own veins too. Yeah, man. Luis is right. I can't remember being this excited for a player before. Yeah. Than Pat. Pat's special. I think he's going to be special. So we'll see. Yeah. All right. I think, man, we managed to go an hour and a half again without a guest. We are just gluttons for punishment. And you guys are too. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Once again, if you guys like the show, rate, review us. You can find us on any podcast, wherever you get your podcasts under the Barroom Network. Search Barroom Network. You can find our show listed along with every other show that the Barroom Network provides. Basically all Chicago sports, any Chicago sport you like, we've got, a show for it, sometimes multiple shows. So go check out the Barroom Network. Wherever you get podcasts, you can watch us on YouTube. You can watch it through Twitter. If you guys, want to shout us out, if you have something you want us to improve on, you can email us at bulls101podcast@gmail.com. And we'll see you guys next week. Next week, we've got a really fun guest for you guys that I'll announce later this week. But we got more stuff coming up for you. So, Larro, any parting words?
Man, no, man. Guys, I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And like you said, the questions and everything, just continue to tell your friends, man. You never know. Tell your friends about us, and we could try to have some fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Clayton. Appreciate the kind words. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Go Bulls. Go Bucks. Go Bucks. Go Nets. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know. Go Nets. Go Nets.
All right. Peace.